Welcome to Book Lounge by Libby. I'm Joe, and I am so happy you're here. We're just a few weeks away from the start of season 3 of the podcast, which I'm so excited for you all to see. So make sure you're subscribed or following so you never miss an episode. But today I am joined by a multi-hyphenate talent whose voice you've definitely heard grace your audiobooks. Here to talk about his new project, Starshells of Madness, and Queer People, a madcap jazz age satire of Hollywood's scandalous eccentrics by Carroll and Garrett Graham, it's Daniel Henning. Daniel, welcome.
Thank you. Hello.
I feel like welcome back first and
Thank
foremost.
you. It's a warm and cozy place to be.
That's the dream. That's all I want. I want everyone to feel welcome. I also have to apologize that you had to hear the intro.
Oh,
For you. It feels criminal to do that to people.
it's okay.
You're like, oh, I'll hear how you talk about me. That's fine.
It's always like, oh, well, which things will they say?
Yes, I know. And now that we're playing in the YouTube space, you got to get to it quick.
Yeah, right.
So my intros have shrunk.
Oh, nice.
But how have you been since we last chatted? We were talking about your Andy Warhol work.
Yes. I've been great. I'm so proud of the Warhol books. I mean, they're
They're
just
incredible.
what an incredible thing. And there are a couple more that he did that haven't been recorded yet. So I'm hoping one day I'll get an email saying, "Hi, what are you doing? You want to be in?"
Isn't that right? Isn't that always the dream? You're like, well, you loved what I did with the first 3. How about a few more?
Exactly. And so that was just an incredible gift. And I did 65 books last year. I was a very, very busy bunny.
Yes.
And of course I continue to be that. I don't really know another way to be, frankly, but but I'm glad that people like me and keep giving me jobs and new fun things to do. And I'm very, excited about that.
It's that shark mentality. We have to keep moving.
Yes. Yeah, for sure. For sure. Especially because, being a narrator, it's pretty much an entrepreneur, you know, position. So you
Mhm.
really do have to make things happen for yourself.
You have to speak for yourself. You have to sell yourself. It's constant. It's that like you don't work, you don't eat kind of
Yeah.
thing.
And I like it because I do actually like the people in the business. So whenever I have, communications with people, like they're people I actually like. And that's nice because, that's not always the case for people.
Ain't that the truth? Of those 65 projects, I won't ask you to like rank them, but what are some of the ones that stand out from last year?
From last year, definitely the Warhols, of course. My
Mhm.
God, a novel is the hardest thing I ever did in my life. And people like it, which is really great. I won an earphones award for it. Thank
Congratulations.
you. So I'm very proud of that. I love doing Disco Witches of Fire Island.
I knew you were I was gonna sit here and be like, "So where's Disco Witches of Fire Island on the list?"
I fought for that. I literally stalked the author. When I saw the cover reveal, I was like, "That is my book. I don't even know what it's about. It's my book."
And then you read what it was about and you're like, "Oh, it actually is my book."
Well, because the initial description that they finally removed said, "They're fans of The House in the Cerulean Sea." I was like, well, "That's my book. That's me. This is literally my book."
You have to give me this.
So, I mean, that was super, those were super fun. I mean, I got to do a nonfiction dialogue book about Don Bacardi, Christopher Isherwood's partner, and it was great. So I was playing the interviewer and I was playing Don Bacardi. I got to do just all kinds of crazy things. I don't know if you know this, but I'm in the Day the Crayons Came Home series. I play the brown crayon. Got to do one of
Cool.
those again. So it's been really, really great. I'm so happy to have the variety, you know?
Yes.
That seems
Right.
to be a big deal, like, I don't get, like I'm not gonna pull.
You're not shoehorned in
Yeah,
anything. Right. You have good placements, but it's always the fact that you could surprise us with what comes next. Like, as a person who if you're the voice of it or one of the voices in it, I'm gonna read it, and I'm gonna listen to it. I've gotten to experience books that I may not have picked up because I'm just like, "Well, let's see what Daniel has to say today." And, TJ's the one who taught me that, just kind of going like, "Did you know he read this manual of whatever?" And I'm just like, "What won't he read?"
but don't listen to those because 'cause you're not gonna be a computer cloud security professional.
No, I'm not. Although, who knows? Maybe there's a pivot in my future.
Could be, right? Who knows? Maybe you'll be excited by the book.
Yeah,
I
I
still
doubt
feel
it.
the same way
Not
about my
glamour.
books, actually, honestly.
Yeah,
Like, I feel like, "Okay, what's today? What's the next thing in my inbox?" Like, what who because one of the things I realized is they're like, I have like 100 professionals who are reading books all day long, and then sometimes they read something and they go, "Oh my god, this is for Daniel Henning." And then they
yes.
reach out to me and they say, "Are you interested in this book?" And so it's like having my own personal book club in a way. Like all these really smart, wonderfully empathetic people are reading material and then thinking of me. So most of the books I do, I actually am connected to because somebody realized that was probably a good thing.
There's a spark in there that they see how you would bring to life. And I think that's so interesting. When did you feel like you first had that established for yourself? When did you find that people were turning to you? And what do you think brought that energy about? That they went, Daniel is the right choice.
Well, I don't know when exactly it kind of like maybe crossed over, right? But I did very purposely in the big when I became a narrator, I did reach out to the people who are the casting slash producers,
Of
and
course.
I tend to overshare. I don't know if you.
Hmm,
Um,
maybe.
and so in my first email to them, which was like a new voice for you or something, right? I told them everything about me, right? That I'm an award-winning theater producer and director, that I was honored by the state of California for Pride Month as a Pride honoree for my historical work with the LGBTQ community, and my supporting of young writers and some of those people who've gone on to win Tonys and be New York Times bestsellers, et cetera. So I purposely like told them all the things about me so that they would know them, but not pigeonhole me as any one of them.
Yes.
And,
Yes.
and I continued that conversation, and then eventually it stuck.
I think that's so important for people to hear because I think you can translate that into whatever field you're in. As a person who struggles to sell my good points, when the time comes to be like, well, it's review season. How did you do this year? What makes you great? I go, I show up every day. Like where are those success metrics? But also not making it, like you said, not sticking yourself somewhere. I have reach in all of these areas, and I'm not afraid to uplift others so we all get there together.
Yeah, yeah,
That's
and,
important for people.
and I wanted them to know about my commitment to writers, which has been, lifelong. So, like, that was really important. Like, if I take care of writers, like, I've always taken care of writers, and starting when they were, some of them when they were 9 or 12.
Right.
Or 17 and then went to win the Tony when they were 37. Like, so it's like I understand that process and I love it so much. And I know that it is ultimately, for a lot of writers, like a channeling process. They're creating things that are bigger than them. They don't know fully what they're even creating. And I've been, I don't know, maybe like I just saw a production of it here, so this is why this is coming up. But like Salieri in Amadeus, he could see Mozart's brilliance beyond those around him. And I'm not saying, but like I kind of can do that too. I can see what is deep in this text and bring that to life. And it's not something I have to try for. It just is there. I just see it. And then it just comes out of me because I know it's there. So
Right.
it's in it. So, I love being able to do that with I love to be able to do that with new writers, but I also love to be able to do that with like, historical texts like the one that we're here to talk about.
Yes. Before we dive into that one though,
Yeah.
so at the time that we're recording this, it's before, but when the people are seeing it, it's after. We're both about to be and have just been, if I'm existing in all times at once, in New York
Yes.
for the Audis, but also for the Libby Book Awards. You have so kindly said yes when I reached out and said, would you be our voice for the evening? So Daniel will be narrating our Libby Book Awards. And if y'all haven't watched it yet, you can watch it for 0 tickets on Canopy or on the Libby app YouTube channel. Just a shameless plug here and now for that. Because how could I not? We get to work on something together
I'm
outside of this show.
I'm jumping out of my skin, Joe. I'm so honored and happy to be able to do that. Like, it's just I can't believe that you gave me that opportunity. Thank you so much.
Oh gosh, without a doubt. It was the easiest of like the easiest email I've had to send for the entire process because I was just like, please tell me you're going to the Audis. I knew I could expect you to be there, but also please don't be leaving the next day.
I always
and I
I always
and I know you don't.
few days purposely for stuff. Last year, I stayed a few days to record an audiobook that I guess I can say because it's now announced, but it's been a year and I've been waiting to talk about this. I did a musical for Audible called Underdogs.
I'm so
And
excited.
it's great. It's a satire of musicals. It's a parody of musicals, I would say, not satire really. And it stars Alan Cumming and BB Newirth. What?
When you told me that, I was like, of all the gifts to get to receive,
Oh my god, and I play Alan Cumming's boyfriend, and was, like, incredible, and then, because I was able to go to Audible to record it, they kinda scheduled it around me being available that day because I was in for the Audis, and so I got to be in a room with 11 Broadway stars. One, I can't even tell you their name because they did it sort of incognito, singing. I was singing in choral work with 11 Broadway stars. This was literally like my I was in New York and I thought maybe I would do that for and I didn't, right? But like,
yeah,
so I had this moment of like, well, this is my life's dream, singing with people of this caliber. And here I am doing it. And, so it was incredibly, incredibly joyous. And now, a year later, it's coming out.
it's finally time for us to get to experience. I know when we were together at the Audis, you're like, I'm here because I have to work on something that I can't tell you anything about. And I was like, okay.
I'm
And
sorry. Sorry.
no, hey, I get it. Like NDAs are powerful.
Yes, exactly, yeah, and it was just so incredible to be being in the theater for so long, right, to that but then be, like, working with theater people, but on audiobook, you know? So, it's just so joyous, and I'm so thrilled that Ashley at Audible and that Audible brought me into that for that project. It's great, and it's a middle grade,
Oh,
audio drama as
yeah.
it's episodes, chapters, and, but it's just I mean, everybody will love it. I mean, there's one of the parody songs not New York, New York, but it's Newark, Newark. Um, and then all the things that you think might come from that, yes, they're all
They're absolutely there.
there. They both play
But
drama teachers, okay?
got it.
All about
But it's fun when you have something of that caliber that if you are a family, you can turn on for everyone. And since it is that middle grade slant, everyone gets to enjoy it. But that's going to be so exciting. I love to see dreams kind of come full circle to actualize that want to be on the Broadway stage singing in chorus and now to be like, well, I already found my own power and passion in my whole career, and I still made this dream come true.
Yeah, yeah, it's just great. I really do honestly believe that if you just follow who you wanna be, then you'll have an extraordinary life.
Absolutely. I think it's important to just embrace all those parts of yourself and whatever it looks like to manifesting it, you go toward, even if it's in small bites. It doesn't have to be, like make it a little less rigid of I can only accept this version that I thought of. And once you start to break down some of those barricades, it becomes so much easier to live a more fulfilling life.
Absolutely. Just, I mean, follow your heart. Like,
Yeah,
you do you. Like it's
exactly. Exactly.
if you do that, you will be living an authentic life. And I
Yes,
think
you can't end up unhappy.
yeah, it's all good. Everything after being able to live an authentic life, everything else is good.
Yeah, it's all just like, peaches or whatever they say, some sort like it's all just cream or something or other. I'm full of idioms, but I don't always have them. But okay, let's dive into your projects.
Yes.
First off, could you tell the lovely people about Starshells of Math?
Yes. Starshells of Madness is my new publishing book and audiobook imprint. And I am very, very excited to be moving into this sort of moment in my career, and in my life in the publishing industry. I when I came from theater, I ran a theater for a long time, So, when I came into the business, I decided I didn't want to sort of be like the guy who made things happen because I did that forever with my theater. I was like, I just
Mm.
want to be an actor, just a narrator, and let's see what that life is like. Let's see what it is. And I've been through that, and that's great, and I love doing that. And I will please everybody keep giving me work. I'm not retiring from other people's stuff. um,
No complaints had.
but I also do, I have an eye for things, and I there was something very particular that I wanted to do, and I realized that I had the opportunity to create something a little bit larger than just a book and an audiobook. And the business is very welcoming to people. So I, decided to invest in creating Starshells of Madness. I guess I should. There, can you see it?
Oh, yes.
So there's Starshells of Madness.
Ah, I love it.
And, the name came from, very briefly, when I was 12 years old, Sir Alec Guinness made me promise never to see Star Wars again in exchange for an autograph, um, which is a funny enough statement on its own.
It
But
is.
then also he then, wrote about that in his final memoir. And that was in 1999, and it wasn't until 2016 that a friend of mine sent me an internet article with a link and said, "Isn't this you?" And it told the story of the 12-year-old boy, Alec Guinness, made promise never to see Star Wars again. And I was like, "What?" And then, so it took like 17 years for me to find out that he had written that, which blew my mind. And then my research is like, "Oh, it's all over the world. Like everybody knows this story." But
They just don't know who that little boy was.
yeah,
Now they do.
and so, but in it, he says, I should read it exactly, but he says, I looked into the boy's eyes and I thought I saw little star shells of madness beginning to form.
Mhm.
So Alec Guinness wrote the phrase "star shells of madness" about me, and it doesn't exist anywhere in literature. I've done my searches and Google searches and what have you. It's a phrase that he made up to describe me. And so, what else was I going to name my company?
How do you not claim that? I mean,
And it's taken me decades, right, to claim it, right? You know what I mean?
right.
But it's like, "Oh, I'm going to," so the logo is, it's kind of him, it's kind of me as well, right? And then there's all kinds of other symbolism that's happening in there as well. But that idea of, being able to, create from your hands or from your heart or from who you are, that's what Starshells of Madness is about, right? And so we want to be doing bold titles. We want to do things that we say are chaotic or unruly.
Yes.
We don't want to do safe little like granny backyard murder mystery. You know,
Right.
although if there was one of those that was bold, then maybe we would. She's a hooker in her part time.
Pays that backyard by the corner. And honestly, I love that. I think it's so beautiful to take that moment. I mean, you have told me about this. Actually, I think probably last year at the Audies too. And it's so meaningful when you get to just kind of see these pieces come to fruition. But even your level of thought and detail and care into what does it look like and what does it symbolize, but also your mission behind what are we uplifting? Because right, people can shop their titles to a lot of different places, but when they're coming to you, it's because they align with you. I think it gives you a different approach or a different impression to how you've already been treating the world and uplift writers.
You. It's I'm happy to I'm happy to move into this space, just
Mhm.
because my mind does think sort of expansively.
Yes.
So, and who knows what's next with it? Who knows what the next project is? There are things that are boiling, but even those, even if one of them might be something it'll still have this sort of edge or this surprise to it, right? That's what we want to do is, things that make you go, "Oh my God," in whatever way, in whatever good way that makes you feel good about things. But I think that's an opportunity that we have with this new imprint. And I'm happy to be able to have friends in the book world who are saying, "Yes, let's help you do this." You know,
Right.
um, and I'm hoping, and if there's anybody out there who's listening right now and wants to support me in this project, make sure you order a copy of the book we'll be talking about in a minute, or the audiobook when it comes out as well, which will be hopefully this coming week. It's all happening. So this will already be out. So go ahead and buy it. But
Get it ready.
but what,
It'll be there
but
for
what
you.
you're really doing, right, is supporting the idea of what Starshells of Madness is, and that and then where we can go from there.
When you have a creator or a creative you are aligned with, these shows of support, whether it is an author directly that you go, oh, this is an author I want to support, and they'll understand in a moment when we talk about queer people why we're not talking about the authors specifically.
Yes.
Um, but right, whether it's telling your library to purchase a copy, whether you have the means to have one on your shelves as well, like however you can show that support, right? It goes back up the line and go, oh, people are invested in this. They like what we're bringing to the table, or they want to see what's next. So it's always important to show your support wherever you can.
And go to your indie bookstore and say, "I heard about this book.
Mhm.
Can you get a copy of it?" Like, that's,
Right.
you know, that
Even if they're just placing an order for you, that could turn into a handful of people that are coming in, and suddenly it's stocked on the shelves regularly, or they're then demanding to be a part of, hey, please consider us when you're on your tour to talk about these things, or when you're selecting books. There's a lot of good crossover in the book.
yeah, for sure.
We're all just people who want good story.
Yeah, no, I totally get that. Like, I totally
Yeah.
get the people in this business are,
Oh,
I mean, it took me a while. I was like, "Why is everybody in the audiobook world so kind?" And then it, of course, is also the book world mostly, right?
right.
And
Oh,
it took forever. It took me I was like, What is it? What is it?" And then I realized, "Oh, I know what it is," because every single one of these people read books.
yes.
So they
You're right.
do it
All
every day as part of their job. It's handed to them. "Here's some empathy today. Learn about something else," right? And that's
right.
why people are so kind in this business.
And it's a part of why, things move at the pace they do. It's, why we can see these beautiful changes happen in explosions that impact everything all at like, it's right, it's the books, it's the voices, it's the people who need them, and the people who need to see themselves in them.
Yeah.
Uh, it's just so important.
Yeah, and I found, with my narration, I mean, I have beautiful fans, like amazing, amazing people, and it's different from sort of film and television or whatever, that kind of thing.
Right?
It's like it's just a different thing, and also because those people are getting empathy every day while they're reading these books that they're.
Exactly.
So I'm always so deeply moved by, like, when people reach out to me and tell me their connection to whatever the book it is, and how The House in the Cerulean Sea is the book they listen to every night to calm down before they go to sleep, or it's our family, like, happiness book that we listen to together, or things like that. Like, to just know that, that I have this opportunity to be in people's lives in this really um, close way,
Mhm.
partially because I'm in their ears.
Right?
I take that as like a sacred honor, like it's important to me to honor that. And so that's also what I'm trying to do, with queer people and with Starshells of Madness. I mean, queer people is very different than, The House in the Cerulean Sea, right? But I mean, in many ways, it's almost like the opposite. Um,
Right?
uh,
Yes.
but my heart is in this because I love this story so much. And so I hope that, my fans and other people will, pick up a copy as well to just to hear, like, a different aspect, like we were talking about earlier, of who I am. And this is definitely an aspect of who I am. Yeah.
And I love that. I love the this is your opportunity to get to know Daniel a little better, to know him differently, to know another facet. Because I know a lot of our early conversations, I was guilty of having to go, remember, you are an active participant in this conversation, because I'm so used to just listening to you
Yeah.
that you'll start talking and I'll go, "Hmm, okay, here we are. It's my usual time. And then be like, ooh, oh no, I'm driving the bus. Don't fall asleep.
Yes, please.
But we've teased the people enough. Let's
Yeah.
dive into queer people.
Yes.
Can you describe the book to the folks? So
Uh,
we know it from the 1930s.
yes. So it's so this is it. This is our version of it.
I can't wait to see you next week. I'm dying for my
Uh,
copy.
Great people, madcap jazz age satire of Hollywood's scandalous eccentrics. This is a book that was written in 1930 or released in 1930. By the way, this is a new cover that we created, but this part, the blue part, and the woman are from the original cover. And then we added this Hollywood land and the Hollywood Hills and the coloring and the things. And, so we purposely tried to create a version of this that is truthful to the original, but also is a modern book as well. So it was originally published in 1930. It's written by Carroll and Garrett Graham, and it is a satire of Hollywood in its day. But it is also a satire of Hollywood today. It is funny. It is scandalous. When it came out, everybody knew who was being satirized in the book. Like they knew that this character, Israel Hofberger, was clearly Irving Thalberg. So and some scandalous things that Irving Thalberg did, this character does in this book. So the whole book itself was a very thinly veiled roman à clef. So in its day, everybody knew, oh, well, that's Luella Parsons, and that's Eleanor Glynn, and that's John Gilbert, and everybody knew. And even today, if you're a Hollywood fan from that time, you will go, well, that's clearly John Gilbert. And actually, the Graham brothers were so good at satire that all the characters that I know in the book, Papa Jake Schmaltz is Carl Laemmle, who founded Universal. All the characters that I know are doubled in the book. Carroll and Garrett Graham mentioned their real names at other points in the book, which is really interesting.
It's such interesting play because satire is so hard to do, and I'm such a sucker for it, but it's so hard to find good satire, or at least it's one of my areas to still learn how to find better. And it was such a gift to get this from you, to just be able to be like, oh, this is what we were doing. This feels like lost power.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's it. And so that is a great word, right? The lost, right? So this book was published in 1930. It had 9 printings in 3 months. It was a huge book. Everybody in Hollywood read it, but nobody would admit it.
Got it.
It was dangerous. It was dangerous. And Howard Hughes bought the film rights, and he's like, I'm going to make the movie. And one of the things he said was, I'm going to make this movie with the real people who are being satirized. And weirdly enough, he couldn't get any of them to agree to be in it.
I wonder why.
It was literally that scandalous. Like the richest man in Hollywood could not get this movie made because no camera people would, nobody. And then and they were not Hollywood insiders, but one was sort of a reporter and one actually worked as a publicist at Universal Studios, which is where a lot of the stuff comes from with Papa Jake Schmaltz in the book. And so in its day, it was sparkling and it was hot to touch, and then it was released again in the 1950s with a different title, and it's called The Flesh Pots of Malibu.
Oh, wow.
In a pulp version, right?
That's incredible.
Isn't that incredible? So, Flesh Pots of Malibu.
Love.
And then it was also released in the mid-1970s, and Bud Schulberg did an afterword for the book. And then that was it. And that was a fairly small printing. So this book has been in the zeitgeist. People talk about this book, but nobody could get their hands on it. And about 25 years ago, I had heard of it, and I was like, "What? Wait, what? What? I know Day of the Locusts, and I know What Makes Sammy Run, and but what's that?"
Right.
And so I was able to get a copy 25 years ago. Now, if you want a copy of any of the original printings, they're like $500 to $5,000 on eBay, and they're like $6. Right. So I got it. I loved it. I was like, oh my God, this would make a fantastic television show. By the way, it's called The Studio. I was right.
Sounds familiar. Yeah.
Basically, right. And so I wrote a pilot for Noah Wiley, and we and CAA searched for 2 years to find the family, whoever had the rights to it. We couldn't find it. So I sort of rewrote the pilot out of being a direct adaptation, but the similar thing. It was set up at Quentin Tarantino's company, A Band Apart. It was set up at Sony TV with Lawrence Mark. And eventually Noah took a different series, and so it didn't happen. but it has been my passion. Like, I love that story so deeply because it's really funny on top of everything.
It
Um,
is.
and and honestly, like, the one of the other reasons that I love this so much is because I love Hollywood so much, and I'm not talking about the movies. I'm talking about the town. I've spent, most of my life living and working in Hollywood, and this book captures that so perfectly. And it's no different today. The kind of strange, nutty people who are hangers-on around Hollywood, they're I know them today.
Right. There could be a version of this today that it ran exactly as written, just with the names updated.
Yeah,
If truly, just because all those caricatures still exist
they
and they're still operating. There just might be more references of Xenu. Like,
and also the people who are the hangers-on, right? Those are sort of,
mhm,
the oddballs, which is really what the book is about. Because the main characters of the book are all the non-insiders, right? Maybe they work in the industry, or they wanna work in the industry, or they're married to somebody who works in the industry, but they're not the stars are here too. They're also characters in the book, but the main one, the group,
but it is
is
the side.
yeah. And so, so it's not focusing on the stars. It's focusing on the below the line people, as they would say, right? And I love that aspect of it too. Uh, but it talks about Hollywood in such a specific way, and like I say, the town. That I was super happy, and when I realized it is public domain, it became public domain January 1st. So it was like, oh well, now because I tried to get the rights and I couldn't do it. So now I don't, so I'm happy to have created this brand new version of it, um, that, has lots of additional material in it. There was a foreword written by, film historian and Hollywood reporter, contributor, Chris Yogerst, who
Mhm.
I had narrated his book, The Warner Brothers. Um,
Oh, yeah,
and that's how I was like, "Well, Chris is the guy to write the foreword to this."
definitely.
And then as I was putting it together, I realized, well, I'm kind of the guy to write the afterword, to talk about Hollywood's place in this story, and then what happened, in the future, from this story existing. So we did that, and we created a map of 1920s Hollywood from like a streetcar map, and then we put all the
Yeah.
locations because they're all real locations.
Yes.
And then I was really happy to do this because I'm like a preservationist, right? So, um, I also in the back of the book is a list of all the locations in the book that are still standing today and their addresses. So you can take yourself on a little tour if you want, of the
That
location.
might have been one of my favorite parts as I was working my way through. It was just like, of course it's all here. Here's where it is, and if it still exists and functions in the same way but has an updated name, or it was just it's so cool to see. I'm made for a museum, and so it's that same kind of mindset of like, "Oh, this is perfect."
Yeah, it was a great joy to do that, and,
Yeah.
and to just go through, go into the text, and we also restored it, like, letter to letter, comma to comma, period to period. I mean, there could still be a few mistakes, I suppose, in it, but we were pretty, tough about that, in order
Right.
to, to really make it, truly authentic to the Grahams, or as I call them, the brothers Graham. Um
Exactly. But I love what you have on the copyright page of it was originally published in 1930 in the public domain, reproduces the original text restored from historical sources and formatted for modern readers, with the exception of an added subtitle. No substantive changes have been made. I'm paraphrasing here, so you don't have to listen to the whole thing. The people could. This edition is published to preserve the historical language, tone, and perspective of the period in which the work first appeared. This includes the original spelling and punctuation. Don't blame us. That's my favorite part. That's my favorite part. Don't blame us.
you. We debated over whether to, I was like, "Oh, I think we definitely," and that's very Starshells of Madness too, right? Like,
Yes,
"We're gonna do it.
exactly.
We're gonna be bold, but don't blame us." Like,
Exactly. We are in the act of preservation here. We have updated it for your sensibilities, but if we missed some along the way, remember that this is beyond this is beyond what you should complain about.
exactly. But, it's interesting because one of the things, kind of the very first thing that I had to grapple with was
Mhm.
the title. right?
Sure.
This book is not about
Queer people,
LGBTQ.
as we would think of it
There's
today.
one reference to one person who's gay and he's called a faggot. You know,
Right.
it's not, but that was
Right.
Hollywood in its time, and that's Billy Haynes, by the way, is who they're referring. That's everyone,
Right.
but that was who that was, and that's kind of what that's a true Hollywood moment. Like Billy Haynes was absolutely thought of as a faggot, but then he said, but I'm going to come and design your houses, and then you're going to bow down to this faggot. You know,
Exactly.
but the book is not about gay people at all, and so it's like, but you hear queer people, and if we just leave it there, like, what are you gonna think, right? So, I worked for a long time to add this subtitle, so that if you hear "Queer People: A Madcap Jazz Age Satire of Hollywood's Scandalous Eccentrics," it's got, like, LGBTQ is gone. And then also adding, in the book, the Webster 1913 Webster's dictionary is like a famous edition, and it was there for a long time. So we've also added the 1913 edition of queer, a definition of queer in it. So we're going to get rid of all of that from your month. We wanted to make sure that you could understand what the book was, because what a funny thing, right? A word has
Right.
changed so much in 95 years that it has an entirely different meaning. I mean, that meaning sort of existed back then, but it was slang and, but now.
Right, but not in the way that we see it today, and so, right, that kind of disambiguification, uh, whatever words are, is really helpful to set the tone, set the context, and just let people know, "We're going back in time today, and I need you to be ready for the ride."
Yeah, and not be thinking about things that aren't relevant to this story.
Right. Exactly. Don't be waiting for the, like, gay lore drop because that's not what the story is.
Yeah,
Um,
and
but I
me too, people might think that even more, right? So it just
Right,
make
right.
sure that, like, right off the bat, done. Here it is. This is not about that. It's about queer people, strange, wonderful, odd people.
Right, the oddballs.
Yeah.
Um, I love the design for the cover. I also love the inclusion on the back cover. You've got quotes from articles that date back from the 1930s, and I wanted to point out to the listeners, the watchers, I have linked in the show notes the Times article because you can still see it on Times website, and it even says, like, the original posting date as 1931. And that just tickles me, like, to see an article from 1931 pop up in Google and have it summarized to say 3-minute read. I'm just like,
Well,
okay,
it was so fun to, like, it's like, "Well, what's the book back cover?" "Okay, well, we'll have a blurb and, like, the things that you think
right.
about." It's like, "Oh, well, if this were, like, a true paperback, there'd be quotes from the thing," right? So it's like,
Hmm.
well, it was reviewed a lot in 1930. Let's see what people said, And so I love, like, that time, the time quote that we use. It's like, that's the best blurb there could ever be, you know?
And that article it's not scathing. It is an incredible review, but it has the energy of someone who is mad.
Absolutely.
Like, they're mad that it's good, like, they're mad that it's good, they're mad that it's around, but it's a positive review told in, like, the angriest way.
And it's very judgy, it's super judgy, which I love too, 'cause entirely, it's like the most negative things they could possibly say about this book. I'm like, "That is the best blurb I could use for people to buy this book today."
Exactly, it's the thing that makes you wanna read it even more.
And the heroines of Queer People are insistently immoral, and the scene of their depravities combines the worst features of Sodom and Gomorrah. I'll take 2, please.
Exactly. I'll have what she's having, like,
Exactly.
sign me up. Uh,
So it's and what a gift that literally at Christmas time this year, 2025, Graydon Carter did an interview in the book section of New York Times, and they asked him what, the best book he ever received as a gift, and he said, "Easy, Queer People" by Carroll and Garrett Graham. Bette Midler gave it to me, and it's as funny as anything I've ever read. And I'm like, "Whoa, that's Graydon Carter, like, last week saying this is the
right.
funniest book he's ever read." So that's the one sort of modern quote we have about the book, is that. Um,
It is funny to see 1931, 1930, 1930, 2025.
yeah, so it's super fun to do that and to pick which reviews we were gonna, you don't often in like publishing something get that opportunity to, like, have all these quotes from 50 years ago. But we did.
Right. Now reviving something.
Yeah.
What was the process like? I mean, you've already talked about how it speaks to our climate today and that there are clear parallels between then and now. But taking something public domain and reworking it and creating the audio, what did that look like for you? What was the process like to bring this into existence?
Well, I've always, as I said, wrote a pilot and that, so I've always
Mhm.
seen it in a dramatic way, right? Like I've always
Sure.
understood the power of this story to be told dramatic. And initially, like, I think initially it was like, well, I mean, of course I'm gonna do an audiobook, or maybe we'll just, like maybe that was the first thought even was the audiobook. And then I was like, well, but wait a minute. I mean, when I sent it out to Chris Yogers to ask about the a forward, he came back and he said, I've looked in like every university library system I can. I've looked in every possible database. I can't find a copy of it. Can I get a copy from you? And I'm like, well, yeah, you can. Um, but like there you have it, right? Like it's this storied thing, and yet it doesn't exist. You can't find it. It's like as if like The Great Gatsby was not
If it just was
I
spirited away.
it's
Yeah,
gone, right? So I realized, oh no, we have to really do this. We have an opportunity here to turn this into something that will sit on shelves in libraries and will be studied in film studies programs or in literature programs because it really is. It's one of the best satires I've ever read.
absolutely.
You know,
Hands down.
and the Romana Clay is just beautiful. By the way, I just 'cause I it's kind of in the zeitgeist now, I should mention another Romana Clay that I did. I did J. Manuel's, the Wig, the Bitch, and the Meltdown, which is his Romana Clay of America's Next Top Model.
Of course, Daniel, of course you did.
You must,
I
Joe, you will.
I
It
have
is a
I have it requested because so in preparation for the documentary, my boyfriend and I have been watching Top Model because
Okay.
he watched it while it was airing. I'm a I did not watch it at the time. I was, like playing Pokemon. So I wasn't quite watching Top Model, but honestly, watching it now, I'm shocked I wasn't watching it then.
Yeah,
Really don't know why I
yeah.
wasn't,
Uh,
as was he. So we started like maybe 2 weeks ago. I
wow.
think 2 weeks ago, and we're currently on season 11.
Oh, okay.
So we are mainlining Top
Yeah,
Model,
okay, yeah.
and then I'll be fed content, and then I see Jay's book come through in something or other online, and I go, "Oh, well, of course I'm gonna read that." And, you know me, I jump right to the audiobook, and of course it's you. Of course it's
It was so much fun to do that, and
did you get to work with him at
Oh,
all or meet
only
him?
after. Only after, because the book came out, and then he reached out to me, and he was like, "I love you. Thank you so much. This you
Yeah.
did," and no one and for him, right, 'cause of who he is and what like, he didn't know anybody who didn't know him who had read the book. I was the first
Got it.
stranger who had read the book, and I knew it intimately. So, we hopped on the phone. We had, like, a 3-hour phone conversation. And we got into it, girl, like, all of it, and I'd already done the book, so he knew, and it's super I mean, I don't wanna say campy per se, but there is that a little bit of that element to it. It's definitely a satire. It's definitely meant to be fun, but it's also, thinly veiled?
Oh, less than thinly is what I'm hearing, which at that point when he wrote it, he deserved to be even thinner veiled
Yeah, yeah.
than that.
And I
But
and I had and I had s watched the show, so I knew, "Oh, well, that's probably Adrian, and that's this like, I was able to pick them out. Obviously, Nigel Barker is those weren't there obvious, but, so it
but
was
which
super
girls
fun.
he was lining up and
And I'm not doing any of their voices, but I knew who they were, so I am kind of giving a little bit.
inspired by. Yeah.
Yes, of course, and Miss Tyra, of course, like, obviously, so, you know.
Oh, yeah. There's no missing. There's no missing that
Enjoy it
one.
on your way to New York. You'll enjoy it. You'll laugh
Oh,
your ass off.
I can't wait. I cannot wait. And now that really is what I'm gonna do. I'm going to have to listen to it while I head to New York next
Yeah.
week.
So I if I can I ask you a question?
Please.
Because you're the first person I know of who heard the audiobook, which I am very proud of. What did you
I
do?
couldn't be more honored. First off, thank you. I could not be more honored to be one of the first to get to listen to it. I I loved it. I don't have to like front for you. I I loved it because I could tell your hands were in it every it's I know you always put everything into the books you do. It doesn't matter what book it is. I bring it up every chance I get, but like you were haunting in Bathhouse. Like that's a book that I still think about. But I know the range from a thriller that has parts of you versus something from TJ that has parts of you, but the very emotional parts, and then from like the body in the back garden. Like I've gotten the chance to listen to your acting work in
Mm,
that
mm.
position, but this time I could see the care, the choice of music, the layers, the pacing, the effort you were putting in. It's different. It's different this time. Like it's it is clearly you, but this is the next level. This is a different version of yourself. This is a different care because you get to be responsible for more than the lines on the page. You're thinking of it as a whole.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you. I'm very honored by that. Thank you. Yeah, I did. It was interesting, coming at it because normally with audiobooks, like we don't really get a chance to say, "Oh, what about this?" Or "Do you think of that?" Or I mean, we're Somewhere Beyond the Sea, the sequel to The House on the Cerulean Sea. I did ask for something very specific,
Right.
which I have heard fans refer to, so I'm really happy. But basically, it was every time in the book where it says "they all said." I asked if we could record all the different voices saying whatever that thing is, and then layer them all on top of each other.
Down to the clicks, which is my favorite part of the audiobook. Those moments where they all say something.
Yeah, Theodore. Aw. And so that was something I got to, like, sort of make happen from a book that I was doing for a publisher. But in general, you don't really have that's not really my job, right? So, but this, it was my job, right? So, I was like, I wonder if I should put music in this. I wonder if that's right, because I'm,
Yeah.
like Starshells of Madness itself grew into something. This publication of this book grew into something bigger by, well, we should add this and that's that. And we were done with it, and then we're like, wait a minute, we should put maps. So we actually did a nut. We were almost ready to publish it, and then pulled it back to put that in. So it keeps growing. And the audiobook did the same thing. So I thought about it, and I was like, and there's also a version of it where you could do, the clinking of glasses in the background, and you could do, other sound effects. And I chose not to do that, but so I decided, okay, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna record it, and as I do, I'm just gonna take notes of like, "Oh, I could hear a little music here," or "There's a little something there," or "They're talking about music for this whole section."
Why
So
not
that
have
would be
it
great.
underlining the moment?
So I took those notes as I went and, like, but still didn't know.
Yes.
And then when I was done with it all, I was like, "Oh, you know what? Actually, I think there's so many places where music is talked about in this that there's a way to do this." So then I love 20s jazz. I love 20s music. And so I delved into my archives to find appropriate songs that were also in the public domain because music has 5 years more than other everything else in copyright.
Sure.
So I couldn't use music from 1930. I had to use something from 1925 or before,
Mhm.
but music stuck around a lot longer than too. It
Right.
works. Um, so okay, well then it's like, well, these ones, but also I need specific things for this, or I want something slightly this underword, And I found that great song at the Motion Picture Ball,
Yes.
which is like, what? What? There's a song that actually lists the names of the movie stars and lists the names of the producers. What? Well, I'm using that for the big scene where all the movie stars and the producers are there for
Right.
sure. And so I loved finding this music and doing that. And then, and eventually I sort of went to like archives online and other recordings of 78s because I didn't have the right thing or I didn't, so I did that too. So, and there's 17 songs, in the book, and we will, when we launch, on our website, starshellsofmadness.com, there will be a playable list of the 17 songs that are in the audiobook that all so the whole song is there and all that stuff.
I love it. I think the first thing I noticed, of course, was the music, just from the point that you're going through intros and we're getting into chapter one. And of course, audiobooks have changed so much over the years from when I was wee lad and started listening to now. And I think of like when I first listened to A Series of Unfortunate Events on tape. They were on tape then. Uh,
Mhm.
to date myself a little bit. Um, Daniel Handler had worked with a friend who was a musician to create a soundtrack for these books, essentially for the series. And so each book had a song that aligned with the book, and they played at the beginning and they played at the end, and you just have these like really beautiful moments. And then eventually we move on to the point where there are full cast recordings, and there's graphic audio who does the work to add in, like, oh, the clinking of glasses or the shoot of an arrow or things like that. But you can always find those little moments throughout different publishers, and they all do it a little differently. And what this brought to mind for me was what Scholastic does a lot lately with their audiobooks. I think of Ryan LaSalle's The Honeys, where there would be thoughtful music at random moments, or there would be like the buzzing of a bee in a background. And I think it's those, for me as a listener, I love the like just enough touch. So that moment we're talking about music and we're hearing something that, like you said, to your point, would have still been around at the time. That is fitting for the moment because music had such longevity then. And so it really helps cement you as you're listening in the time. But producing and editing and putting this all together, the vision, what was that like for you? I mean, I know how much you put into your narration work as it is, but this is a different part of the brain. This is a different part of the process. What was that like? What came up for you?
Well, it's because I have lived inside of production for, decades.
Yes.
The sort of the vision of something is that's just kind of comes for me,
Hmm.
you know,
Natural to you. Yeah.
and so, but I'm also so how do I say this? So e because I have that ability, I also know how to use it, and what I mean by
Yes.
that is, I don't, like, sit down and try to come up with a vision and, like, force something to happen and a thing. So I let things grow. And I've always been like that. And so that's what happened with this is, and even like I recorded it a certain way, and then there were some of the scenes that I went back in and I didn't re-record them, but I took out a lot of the space between
Mm.
dialogue, especially like the morning. I mean, one of my favorite chapters, one of my favorite scenes is the morning after his first night and his first party, and
Yes.
he does not remember a single thing that happened last night. And this stranger whose house he woke up in, White, the main character's name is Whitey. He woke up in some stranger's house. He has no idea what happened to him last night. And then just by like asking questions and piece by piece, the whole night comes back to him. Um,
Yes.
and so I loved recording it. It was fun, but I was like, no, this needs to be snappier. This needs to move forward. And so I took out all the air in between, so it's like, that's when we went to the Pyramid Club. The Pyramid Club, oh, that's where you punch the policeman. Well, punch the policeman. Why did I do that? And to bring that sort of like almost slapstick pace to that.
Right. To give it the energy that you could tell it would have in the moment, or if you were seeing it in a production you'd be experiencing, that would be the expected delivery of just like, you woke up somewhere you don't know where you are, and now you gotta quick piece it together and figure it out so you know how worried you need to be when you walk out of that door.
Yeah. And like the story conference, I did that as well because it looks, by the way, that's exactly how Hollywood story conferences work today. There's no difference. You know? One person comes up with an idea, somebody else says, "That's terrible. Listen, you gotta do this. No, you gotta do that." And everyone's holding on to their own ideas. Now there's gotta be a chase and, all this stuff. It was, and so that was super fun to do that too. But I also pulled out some because when I'm switching through characters, there's a moment of like, switching my head from one person to another, or who is this
Sure.
person, so these thoughts are happening. So sometimes there's a little bit of air between them, which is fine when it's sort of a normal audiobook, but because this has that at moments kind of almost slapstick quality to it.
Mhm.
I wanted the book to float on top of that, you know? Um,
Absolutely. So just the gentle editing hand to get the final product you wanted.
yeah. Yeah, and leaving space here, but bringing it in here and, so
Right.
that was an interesting, it's almost like when I was recording it, I had on my, like, narrator hat, right? And then when I was adding the music, I had on my, like, sound designer. But and then when I
Right.
was editing, I was like a different person, and then now I'm listening to it in an editing kinda way. So I actually did listen to it several times throughout the post-production process to see if to see if it was working, from those different
And
perspectives.
and by the time you got to the final hat that's you listening to the finished product, were you sick of it or were you excited?
No, I was excited. I love this book. I think it's so funny. The writing is just so fresh and brilliant. I mean, uh, if I told you that I wrote this book and I just published this in 2026, I think you'd believe me.
Oh, absolutely. Without a doubt. It is while it is, as we've talked about, it has that archival purpose of rescuing something lost or that, has had no way for, most folks to access it, clearly no way for anyone to access it truly unless you lucked out or are dropping $500. I it's fresh. It's still like a condemnation of today at the same time as the system still function.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And in many ways, it's worse. It's the way Hollywood works
Right.
right now is even worse, right? And that to me was it's like it's just super fresh. I mean, here I'm going to hold up a cover again, right? Like,
Yeah,
ooh, if I can, is it even? That's good, right? So there you go. I mean, that is a fresh cover.
that is a fresh cover.
If you see that on a table at a bookshop, you're going to go, "What the hell's that? I want to read that." And then you flip it.
You're right, you're not like, "Oh, that feels like it's whatever." It's exactly fresh, it's new, it's what people would pick up, it's gorgeously designed.
You know, yeah, I'll tell Rick that my husband designed the cover, so or actually the
Oh,
book, so I'll tell him he said that.
yes, please do. He needs to know I'll praise him as well.
Excellent.
So what's next?
I guess I can say this. I don't think it's announced yet, but maybe it'll be by the time, but soon enough. I am so excited about one of my upcoming books. It's my second book for this author, and I am just beginning to read it, and it's hysterical. I'm doing Paul Rednick's new book.
Oh,
It's
okay,
called
I
The
can't wait.
Tuxedo Society, and it's his gay 007.
Oh, 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 I can't wait. Well, someone's gonna be getting a text after this that says, "Hey, when this comes out, I have a new book for us to read." Because, after we finish, America's Next Top Model, he will be taking me through all of the James Bond movies.
Oh,
Of
okay.
course, I have famously never seen any media, it seems like. Anytime someone asks me, "Oh, of course you love this," I go, "Yeah, I don't know, couldn't tell you."
Davis in
So
it?
right, exactly. I don't know, did they make a RuPaul's Drag Race mini challenge about it? If not, I probably haven't. Look, like I said, I was busy playing Pokemon.
It's okay. We
What
come to knowledge when we come to it. It's all
exactly. And I'm getting quite the brain dump lately. Okay, well, that's exciting. And then do you what are the dreams for Starshells of Madness? Do you have anything that you're I know you can't say much right now, but do you have things you're starting to percolate on that you're starting to move toward?
Yes, yes, there are a couple of things that certainly have my eye. I'm also, I just described this way of sort of letting things come and letting things expand, and that is very much kind of who I am as a person and as an artist. And so I'm also open to like what happens because I stood up and said, I'm Starshells of Madness and I'm going to make unruly things.
Nice.
So it's not all gonna be public domain. Some of it will be, but not boring public domain. I'm not gonna do yet another version of Wuthering Heights or something, right?
Please
'Cause
don't.
we don't need that. Who needs that, right? Um,
Right.
I mean, this like, the queer people, I'm taking the book and giving it to you, but I'm also giving you all the historical context around it. I've turned this into a restoration project, and so that's kind of, you know So, like, if I took, let's say, a classic children's novel, I would not be doing the version of it probably that you know. I might be coming at it from a different place, a darker place, perhaps, or some other way of looking. But also, like, who knows who will come to me with a project that, like, maybe traditional publishers wouldn't publish, or who knows. And so I'm very open to that. It feels like I've now claimed that this is who I am, and this is one of the things that I do. And so what do you got? Come at me, world. Bring me lovely things. I've been very lucky in my life to have that be a part of who I am, and wonderful things have come to me that have made me happy, and not particularly wealthy, but I don't think that's the point of life, at least not for me. I don't really want to colonize Mars. I'd rather, like, make you laugh at listening to queer people. Like,
Exactly.
you know,
Exactly. I would rather have a life of happiness than a life of dollars. So
exactly.
just enough to get by.
Yeah, right, exactly. I think of it, I describe it as, I would like the genie bag, and the genie bag to me is, I say, "Oh, you know what? I wanna go to Paris," and then I reach into the genie bag, and there's just enough money in there for me to go to Paris and to do the thing. I don't need $50 billion. I wouldn't really want that, but
Wouldn't know what to even do with that. My
right.
taxes are easy enough right now to manage. Let's keep them that way.
But the idea that, like, what the things that I wanna do, if I'm able to do the things I wanna do in my life, I think I'm good. I think I'm successful, you know? So,
It's getting back to, like, helping others and helping myself, but making the community a better place for everyone to be in. Like, it's that, and I think your imprint speaks to that as well. It's the, what can we give new life to? What can we save from being lost? And being open and ready for someone to just kind of walk in and say, "I think you need to be a part of."
yeah, my whole I don't know why this is, but even, like, if you go back to when I was 12, and, and Alec Guinness, and, but I one of the reasons I was there that night when I met Alec Guinness is because I had been in, a movie called The Black Stallion, produced by Francis Ford Coppola, right? So, Coppola, so, like, there's a moment like, there's this super famous person that I've now worked with at, like, 11, you
Right?
know, and also just, like, when I like, people in my life say, "Oh my god, you know all these celebrities," and, I've worked with a lot of people, but most of those celebrities are people that I met and kind of pointed out as either people I wanted to work with or become friends with when they were not famous, like, long before. So I've always had this eye for talent, you know? Sarah Michelle Gellar and I worked together when she was 8, and then we stayed close, and I coached her on her auditions for Buffy the Vampire Slayer,
Right.
So, there's I didn't know when she was 8 she was gonna be Buffy, you know? Noah Wyle, I cast him in his first play when he was 17 years old, lying about his age. Um, um, you know, and so, but that eye for talent, that eye to see people, like, before they're even fully formed, but, like, what's there, like, that's something that I know will be a part of Starshells of Madness.
Absolutely.
Seeing this book, and I believe that people will love this book, and I believe that we can actually make this book a hit again. That makes me really happy to see this, something that nobody sees anymore, but I see. Because I'm always this is such a funny thing to say, but it's a true thing. I always feel like the guy standing at the side of the road going, "But the emperor's not wearing any clothes. Why doesn't
Yes.
anybody else see what I see? I can see this thing." And so and that is kind of that thing. Like, when she was 8, I was like, "That she's amazing. Like, I wanna be friends with her," even though I'm, like, not 8. And that same thing. So I see things that other people don't see for whatever reason. I don't see dead people. But
Bummer, but you've got enough other
I do
talents.
see queer people.
Oh, uh-oh.
Um, right, so I hope that Starshells of Madness will be able to do that. Find things
Absolutely.
people should know about, but they don't. Whether that's a new author, whether that's an old book, whether that's whatever. And I also have there's a little bit of a kind of like I don't know, like a label inside of it that I definitely have an idea. about that is kind of like a whole series of projects that is just a certain way of looking at things, and I imagine that will ultimately come into Starshells of Madness as well. But it's important to do audiobooks and books. That's a very important part of the conversation for me. To have both of them. And
I think it's so incredibly important because it also goes back to the access piece. People need access to the audiobook version for a whole variety of reasons.
yeah,
And I think having narrator first to be like, "Hey, remember why this is important," is also just exceptional.
yeah. Thank you.
I'm gonna be here cheerleading whenever I can.
I know you're
So,
amazing.
but Daniel, thank you for taking time to talk with me today and for sharing so much beauty. I feel like every time we get to come together, it's just like, what can we cheers about is what it feels like. I feel like we're always there, champagne or not in hand, just going like, let's celebrate that.
Thank you. What a lovely thing to say. That is definitely how I want to live my life. So that makes
You're living it. But it's always a joy to have you on the podcast and see what you're up to. And thank you for letting me listen to that audiobook early. It really, oh, like it meant so much that you were willing to share that with me. And boy, oh boy, do I feel spoiled. Your talents know no bounds.
Oh, thank you. I'm so honored you did. Thank you. You're still the only person who's heard it other than me at this moment that we're recording this.
And I'm putting that on, I don't know where. I feel like I need to like print that or like make it into a sign and go like first person to listen to.
But when it wins the Audie, you can say, "It was me, I was the first."
Exactly. I'll be the one screaming outside the venue going, "Hey, I listened to it first." And friends, thank you all so much for joining us for today's episode of Book Lounge by Libby. You can find out more about Daniel and Starshells of Madness in the show notes. So anything you want will be linked down there. And of course, you can reach me via email, bookloungebylibby@overdrive.com. Thanks so much for joining us today and happy reading.
Thank you.
You can sample and borrow the books from today's episode in the Libby app, or if you're a librarian, find them for purchase in Overdrive Marketplace. Book Lounge by Libby is a proud Evergreen Podcast signature program. Explore more amazing shows at evergreenpodcasts.com. This podcast is produced and recorded by me, Joe Skelly, with editing by Andrew Alonzo. Our theme music is High Five by Rex Banner, used with permission. Book Lounge by Libby is presented by the Libby app. Learn more at libbylife.com/booklounge.